It begins with a whisper barely audible, like a breath caught in time. They say if you stand outside the gates of the silent asylum at midnight, you'll hear it, the distant clatter of a metal gurney, the echo of footsteps that no longer have feet, the soft, desperate voice of someone asking to go home. But there's no one there, only silence and the building that breathes it. The silent asylum isn't listed on maps anymore. Locals pretend it doesn't exist. And yet, nestled deep within a forgotten woodland, the building still stands, half swallowed by ivy, broken by time, but eerily intact like a scar the earth chose not to heal. To the curious, it's a crumbling ruin. To the historians, it's a cautionary tale. But to those who've dared to enter, it's something else entirely, something still alive. The asylum's story began in the year 1893. Built as a sanctuary for those deemed mentally unfit by society, it was praised as a revolutionary step in psychiatric care. Doctors arrived in carriages, nurses dressed in pressed uniforms, and the first patients were paraded through polished marble halls like hopeful guests. But behind its pristine facade, the truth was far darker. The medical practices of the era were primitive at best, cruel at worst. Those suffering from depression, anxiety, or even grief were diagnosed as lunatics. Women who spoke too freely or defied their husbands were labeled hysterical. Children with learning disabilities were called incurable. And so, hundreds were locked away, some for weeks, others for decades, many for life. Their names are in the records. Patients like Samuel Thorne, a veteran who entered with nightmares and never saw daylight again. Or Elise Carter, just 17 when admitted for emotional outbursts after losing her child. She died 3 months later of what the files never say. The Carters of the silent asylum witnessed therapies that now seem medieval. Lobotomies performed in basement rooms, hydrotherapy in tubs with no drains, electroshock sessions that left patients catatonic. Restraints weren't the exception, they were routine. Staff were overworked, undertrained, and sometimes as unstable as those they treated. Abuse was whispered about but never recorded. Complaints were filed and buried. Deaths were explained away, and the world forgot. By the 1970s, public opinion had begun to shift. Mental health reform swept across the country. The silent asylum, now a monument of malpractice, was abruptly shut down. No ceremony, no explanation. The patients were either relocated or released without support. The building was abandoned, left to rot and to remember. And that's when the stories began. Teenagers exploring the ruins spoke of cold spots and phantom cries. Paranormal investigators documented sudden equipment failures, unexplained voices caught on tape, and sightings of shadowy figures in the upper wards. One crew reported hearing the phrase, "Don't leave me," repeated on a loop through their audio recorders despite being alone. Even skeptics admit there's something off about the place. The air inside is still, but heavy. The walls seem to hum. Time feels wrong. Former staff, long since retired, were interviewed anonymously. One recalled a locked room on the 3rd floor sealed without explanation. Another spoke of patients who claimed to see people standing at the end of their beds at night, watching. When asked about the asylum's closure, they all say the same thing: it was for the best. Inside, the asylum remains mostly untouched. Desks still hold medical records yellowed with age. A child's drawing, taped to a wall in the juvenile wing, reads, "Mommy, please find me." Wheelchairs sit in the middle of hallways as if someone stood up and walked away, except no one did. The surgical theater, lit only by a hole in the roof, still smells faintly of chemicals. And everywhere you look, there are reminders of lives once lived and lost within these walls. Architecturally, it's beautiful in a morbid way. Gothic arches, iron staircases, stained glass windows shattered into kaleidoscopic shards. But the most haunting thing isn't what you see, it's what you feel. As if you're being watched, judged, remembered. Cinematographers have captured its eerie symmetry. Photographers have documented its slow decay. And yet, none of them can fully convey what it's like to stand alone in the silence of that place and feel it breathe around you. But the most terrifying part of the silent asylum isn't the ghosts. It's the history. This building is a testament to everything we once misunderstood about mental illness. It's a relic of how society punished vulnerability. a reminder that the line between care and cruelty is thinner than we like to believe, and that even today, we are still learning to listen to those who suffer. The legacy of the silent asylum lives on not just in shadows, but in the quiet horror of neglect, of voices never heard, of pain never validated. It's not just a haunted place, it's a mirror, one that forces us to confront the cost of silence. So the next time someone tells you a place is haunted, ask yourself, what really died there, and what was simply ignored?